All right. Well, thank you, Kaylin. Thank you, everybody, for being here Friday afternoon. Welcome. It's good to see some familiar names and some new names. So, well, welcome to everybody. Today we are talking about Train Green SEICBP. This is a session specifically for students and participants. I always like to call out our team here. Crystal McDonald is the Director of Account Management and Workforce Development. Kaylin, who you've already met, Marketing and Communications Manager. Rick Fleury is our Trade Ally Manager. He works directly with the marketplace in terms of contractors and manufacturers. A great person to connect with. If you have any questions about other areas of our work and other contracting opportunities. Finally, Yolanda Hayden, our training coordinator, who's online with us, whom you will be dealing with if you take any Train Green courses. Okay. We will go through the webinar in its entirety, and you all can pop questions into the chat window, and we will do Q&A at the end. Kaylin can help address any issues that you may have along the way. Feel free to pop those into the chat window as well. Let us know if you are having any technical difficulties. And then you can always write out your question, or if you want to speak it aloud, you can raise your hand and unmute yourself. We are in a regular Teams meeting here and not a webinar, so we appreciate you all staying on mute. We are going to go briefly through who we are as the DCSEU, since I see some folks that are new to our programming here. We'll talk about Train Green, what are the program benefits, who it's intended for, what the eligibility is. We'll talk about the coursework itself, the levels and the pathways. We'll go through in depth what the registration process looks like. And then I'll talk just a little bit about our workforce development program for those who may be new to DCSEU or have not heard about the externship program and those opportunities as well. About the DCSEU, we are the energy efficiency utility for the District of Columbia. VEIC is our parent corporate company that holds the 5-year contract to operate the DCSEU, and we're currently in our third 5-year contract. Traditionally, we have behaved much like any other EEU, energy efficiency utility, delivering incentives, technical assistance, information rebates to residents, businesses, and building owners with the goal of saving millions of dollars in energy, as well as, of course, reducing impact on the environment. I like to talk about our goals from a high level before we get into things like the training programs. This used to say kilowatt hours, and it's evolved to combined source BTU, overall energy, as well as greenhouse gas savings, as lots of the focus of efforts in the district have been towards decarbonization and electrification. Naturally, our work supports all of that. We have evolved over time to really focus on green jobs, local economic development, and low-income spending as a large portion of our goal and our mission that's woven throughout our programming. Of course, we work on renewables in the city for Solar for All and the CREF program, and increasingly involved in deep energy retrofits, working directly with building owners, particularly in the affordable housing space, to implement projects directly with funding from our client, Department of Energy and the Environment, and federal funding. I love it when I wake up every morning and my KPIs are green jobs for DC residents and local economic development. 35% out of all of our spending on an annual basis is carved out for CBEs, similar to the Train Green program. We have a big focus on keeping both, the talent development and funding locally to ensure that the residents, businesses, District of Columbia are able to take advantage of the multi-billion-dollar opportunities that are coming down the pike. Train Green itself was created back in 2018 as part of the Clean Energy DC Omnibus Amendment Act. This was the same act that modified benchmarking rules to step down in size over time, as well as implement the nation's first building energy performance standard. The council had the foresight to include Train Green Programming. It's actually legislatively called Sustainable Energy Infrastructure Capacity Build and Pipeline Program, which we colloquially call Train Green. And really thought about how upfront to train up district certified business enterprises or CBE eligible firms to take advantage of all of the business opportunities that come along with the various elements of the Clean Energy Omnibus Act, many of which we are starting to see really hit the road last year and this year. We'll talk a little bit about more of that about in the future. Just to note, we're actually starting on I think it's year 4 of the program. Starts in 2023. We have 5 years of funding alongside the rest of our contract. This is the second year of those 5 years of funding. So there'll be at least 3 more years of Train Green programming coming after this. Just want to talk about our impact. 125 CBE DC-based firms registered with Train Green in FY22, so there's considerable growth over time. 204 of totals, 272 total registrants were DC based from 2022. Some of the other numbers that we have here, we large growth in firms from 2023 numbers beyond past 2022 numbers. So we're seeing a lot of uptake here with DC-based companies and firms. Growth in the number of credentials that we're offering, people who've actually passed their credentials and gotten their credentials and certifications, as well as total number of DC residents participating. So the program continues to grow over time. The number of courses we're offering has also increased this year, even though the budget has not. So we're continuing to do more with the same amount and get great results for the district through this program. So why would you participate in the program? We'll start with the why before we get into the how and the when. I like to talk about those 2 pieces of legislation that I mentioned earlier as the great multi-billion-dollar opportunity that's created by the Clean Energy Omnibus Bill and will be implemented through benchmarking requirements and the Building Energy Performance Standards all the way through 2045, I believe. And we have legislation program going all the way through there. As you can see, we have a step down in the size of buildings over time. So previously, buildings over 100,000 square feet had to benchmark. Now we have buildings over 50,000 square feet that are already benchmarking, and coming in the next few years, we have private buildings over 25,000 square feet and then 10,000 square feet. So you can see over the next few years, there's going to be thousands more buildings coming into the marketplace for energy benchmarking services. And that's an annual requirement that they submit their energy data through Energy Star Portfolio Manager. We also have the Building Energy Performance Standard, which now mandates that those under the median Energy Star score for their building category actually have to do something to improve based on their performance vis-a-vis other buildings of their type in the district. So lots more services that are going to be needed by building owners that have to do something to comply and implement energy efficiency projects and programs. And as we said, as the benchmarking requirements step down, so do BEPS. So by 2033, all private buildings above 10,000 square feet will have to be benchmarking and as part of BEPS. So this is an industry that's been hot in DC for quite some time and will only continue to grow as more buildings are drawn into the BEPS compliance cycles. So the Train Green program itself is geared towards district CBEs and CBE-eligible firms. We do know that there's lots of companies that work in the district, and then there's plenty of people who live outside the district but work for DC companies or CBE-eligible companies. So we do make some allowance for folks to join courses there. We'll talk about eligibility in just a second, but needless to say, priority for all of our free courses goes towards CBE and CBE eligible firms and district residents first and foremost. We'd like to note that although it's typically contractors and folks that are looking to get into the green building space, building owners themselves can train their own staff to build internal capacity and really try and incorporate energy efficiency practices into some of their normal maintenance routines. As someone who moonlights as a building owner in a large cooperative in the district, I can tell you standard maintenance practices don't usually typically incorporate energy efficiency. So now we have trainings and programs that enable folks to do that and build that capacity internally so it can show bear fruit over time in operations expense reductions. Individuals themselves, district residents particularly, can learn new skills and get certifications that helps them access higher paying jobs. We've created new course levels and pathways that enable everybody to come into the program, be it from somebody who's just learning about the green building section and sustainability to those who are mid-career or advanced career professionals looking to add new skill sets or new service offerings to their businesses or firms. So we'll talk a minute about program eligibility. First and foremost, district residents who work at CBEs or CBE-eligible firms have Tier 1 in eligibility. Tier 2 are those who are district residents who work either outside the district or non-residents who work for a district CBE or CBE-eligible firm. And third, Tier 3, we do make some accommodation for non-residents and businesses in the greater DMV metro area that are participating in the regional building industry. I will tell you, we get people registering from as far as Guam and Dubai, so the courses are popular, but we do not allow folks from generally the greater DMV area to participate. And of course, I mentioned everything is free, but it's on a first come, first serve basis, although priority registration is given to folks in the higher tiers. What I will say here is for courses where we have quite a number of seats, it's usually plenty of room for folks in the Tier 2 and Tier 3. And when there's really popular courses that only have 10 seats perhaps, it's typically the tier 1 and Tier 2 folks that apply and get in. But I like to really tell folks, go ahead and register for the program. We have last minute cancellations sometimes. We have people that want to switch sessions, and we do our best to get everybody in and make sure that every seat is taken. Our audience for the Train Green program is fairly broad. Of course, we're targeting district CBEs, contractors who are looking to offer energy efficiency or renewable energy services. We've worked with a number of CBEs over the past few years that are gaining new skills and new service offerings through the program, specifically to meet building owners where they are in the marketplace for energy benchmarking and BEPS. Building owners themselves, property managers, and building operators. We do have courses that are geared more directly for people who are working in building operations. So we have that availability. Electricians, plumbing, lighting, or HVAC technicians. Here's where we really have the opportunity to upskill and add additional additional services to the existing services and allow some of these folks in these trades to command higher hourly wages, dealing with building owners directly for BEPS related services. Engineers and service providers, of course, architects, designers, and safety engineers. We do have some programming that deals with the design side of the equation, particularly LEED GA, LEED BD plus C. But we also have a passive design and energy modeling course for architects coming up. We'll talk about that a little bit later. And finally, renewable energy and solar providers, because the DCSEU operates the single family portion of Solar for All, and we work with community renewable energy facilities as well. We do have a strong connection to the local solar market, and therefore we do offer the NABCEP Solar Installers Package. So last year we introduced levels so folks could get a sense of difficulty of the course, as well as understand what the prerequisites might be. We do have a number of courses that have prerequisites. and give people really the foundational level of knowledge that will prepare them for the intermediate and advanced courses. We've had some folks that wanted to jump right in, and it can be difficult if you don't have a good foundation in building science to follow along with the certified energy manager coursework, for example. So we really want to be able to provide that foundation where folks can build year after year in some cases, and get that foundation and then go for some of those intermediate or advanced credentials that have those prerequisites. And we've seen quite a number of folks from CBEs as well as local individuals looking employment go make their way down up through the difficulty levels, and then of course through some of the training pathways. So we've curated our coursework into 5 separate training pathways. There's lots of different career pathways, I would say, in the energy efficiency space these days. These are the ones that we've developed to sort of best meet the needs of DC's building owners and contracting community vis-a-vis benchmarking and the building energy performance standard. So let me talk a little bit about each category, and we'll see how the courses fit into these categories in just a few slides. The largest, most popular category, of course, is energy efficiency. It's the pathway that has the most overlap with other pathways here, but it's also has the most courses in it. We have introductory courses going over basic concepts, and then other courses drilling deeply into auditing, benchmarking, modeling, building retuning, building energy audits, etc. Both on the commercial and the residential side. Residential, I specifically mean single-family residential. Sustainability and health is an important category for us. Lead courses make up the majority of the courses here, but we actually will have a resilient remodeling course for general contractors that do single-family remodeling this year, because we really want to give folks the breadth and depth of the green building, movement and environment, where we're not just looking at energy and climate, but we're looking at all the various aspects of how buildings impact the built environment, as well as human health and well-being. And human health and well-being has been particular focus of the commercial building industry, I'd say before the pandemic, but especially during and after the pandemic. We see a lot of buildings participating in Fit Well and Well in the district, particularly those COVID reentry programs. The building operations training pathway is really focused on folks who are already or want to be in building maintenance operations automation. We have courses like the building operator certification that's a few months long, but really helps meld energy efficiency practices into ongoing maintenance and operations practices. HVAC will be hopefully one of the more hands-on categories in the future. We're still working to find local facilities to do hands-on training for HVAC equipment and things like heat pumps, but we do have online virtual coursework for HVAC. This year, we'll be programming 2 courses around heat pumps. We'll talk about those in just a minute. But courses like building automation and other levels of HVAC controls would fall under this category. Finally, we have renewables and solar. It's mostly just solar. It's that NABCEP solar installers provider package that I mentioned earlier, because solar is definitely still king in the district. Only just a handful of geothermal installations as far as I know. But in the future, if that does become more popular, we would add things like geothermal or potentially even EV charging to this category. So here's one way I'll show you guys the courses, and this is probably more applicable to those who've taken courses with us last year. We have a number of courses returning, like the BPI single family analyst and the multifamily analyst. New to the BPI family this year will be the BPI Infiltration and Duct Leakage course, and that will have a hands-on field training component, just like the BPI Single Family Analyst. We have the Building Operator Certification, Certified Energy Manager, Commercial Building Retuning, and Commercial Energy Audit Certification returning, as well as Fundamentals of Energy Efficient Building Operations. We have our staple introductory courses like Green Building 101, Intro to Climate Change, Intro to Healthy Buildings coming back again this year, alongside the lead AP, BD&C, and GA, and that solar package. We have a bunch of new courses this year that I'm happy to present here. We'll be launching on the website soon, or as they are ready for registration. We have a commercial refrigeration module, which is new. We've had a number of people go through the commercial energy audit certification already. So this builds on that program, and anybody who clears that program this year can also take the refrigeration add-on. We have a new commissioning training series that's going to be developed for the DC context, which is exciting, as well as the efficient building tradesperson training series, which will be also online on demand. And this is really going to be focused on pressurization and air sealing, particularly in the multifamily context, because we've heard that there's a lot of challenges with the building code in blower door testing and passing blowing door tests. We're creating some locally curated content to help address some of those challenges. We have Introduction to Heat Pumps and Heat Pump Design Applications. Those are two new courses that we are having developed for the DC context that will really focus on early phase introduction to heat pumps and then design applications for those that are working directly with clients to get the market primed. We know there's a huge talk about heat pumps, but we continue to hear that there's still very few installers and even engineers that may be speccing them out and using them in projects. So we're trying to familiarize folks locally with those products and those design applications. New this year, these are terms that I'm sure anybody who's seen recently, reading the front page of the Times or the Post: Introduction to Decarbonization, ESG in buildings, and then green building. It's actually green building rating systems there. So we have lots of new impressive introductory content that's very timely for folks that are trying to enter into the green building sector. We've brought back lead AP operations and maintenance this year, which we did not have an instructor for last year. So I'm proud to say that will be back. And then we have new courses. This one will be in both English and Spanish, separate sessions for passive design and energy modeling for architects, again with some focus in the DC context. And lastly, for GCs that work in single family, we have a resilient remodeling course that, of course, touches on decarbonization and electrification, reducing embodied carbon. So let's put these two together. Here we have the courses that are laid out in their pathways. The introductory courses sit on top of those, and we really do recommend that folks that are new to the space start off with some of those introductory courses. Those are coming up in March and April, so if anybody's watching this recording afterward, we're sorry you missed these courses, but we actually have a playlist of, I believe, 6 or 8 courses on YouTube already, and we'll post that link to that playlist into the chat for folks. But there's a lot of great introductory courses that are already available on YouTube that folks can check out. So as I mentioned, energy efficiency is going to be the biggest category that we have courses in, lots of overlap with the other ones, but our BPI courses and commercial energy audit training lie here. Lead makes up most of our sustainability and health. Then we have some fundamentals of building operations, again, geared toward folks that are working in buildings and maintenance, as well as the BOC. I would say that, while we do have courses that tend to reappear on this chart from year to year, we did have a lot of new courses. So we do change up our curricula from year to year, as it is actually typically based on the proposals that we get through a competitive RFP process. And for those of you who are coming back, just a quick note about our instructors. We do have some new instructors joining us this year. DNR International is putting together our heat pump content. They do a lot of developing coursework for jurisdictions around the country, as does Stephen Winters Associates, who'll be doing our commissioning training series and the efficient tradesperson series. And then we have Energy Shrink, who's been working with us, as has Stephen Winters Associates, on other programs here at the DCSEU, both coming in this year to provide instruction. So we have a lot of folks that are trainer practitioners, as well as some of our returning organizations and instructors that have long track records in this coursework. So I'll take a moment to talk through the Train Green registration process for those who are new to the program. In order to register for this year and any other year, folks need to get their training code. They need to register through the website, the Train Green Program Access Form, to input their information and allow us to check their eligibility and assign a tier. We know folks move around the district, so we ask that folks re-register every year so that we can ensure that tiered information is correct and everybody is meeting eligibility standards. Once you get that code, however, you will use that same code throughout the fiscal year to apply for courses. So keep that code handy. If you misplace it or it ends up in spam, as happens 33% of the time somehow, you could always contact Yolanda or myself to get that code resent to you as we just draw it out of our database. And then, of course, address information. It's important that we do get your shipping address, as some of these courses have shipping materials, and those things are, of course, free but covered. We want to make sure that it gets to you. So here's what the flow of the process looks like. You review the form and the instructions. As I said, provide accurate information so that we can get you your eligibility correctly and get you your printed material. Yolanda and I will look and determine your eligibility. And if, as I said, you meet any of the 3 tiers of criteria, or you're in the DMV or not Turkey or Canada, then you're generally eligible for the program. We'll send you the code. You can use that code right away to start signing up for courses. Courses will be posted starting next week. We have all of our copy together, and we're just ready to roll shortly. I will note that we have some of the courses coming in May, June, and July. Registration for those courses will not open until about eight weeks out. Especially for folks who are new to the space, we want you to take a look at the courses that you're signing up for. We've noticed some people are extremely enthusiastic and sign up for everything at once. And while that's fine in some cases, particularly the introductory courses, we want to make sure folks are prepared and able to absorb the content and do well in the courses, as well as not taking courses that are overlapping in terms of timing or time demand, as we have some courses like the CEM or the BOC, which are really 40 to 50 hours worth of coursework and studying separately. Do you meet the course prerequisites? Again, we do check. Even though we have it on the page, folks will miss the fact that you need your lead green associate to take your lead B, D, and C. So that's why we ask for that information through the program registration form, so we can get that early sense of what credentials you may already have, what experience you already have, and make sure that you're getting into the right courses. And then, do I have the time to attend and complete the course? We do have some folks that start out strong, but for the BOC, where there's a 4-hour session every month for a number of different months, It can be difficult to maintain the commitment. We want to make sure that people are aware of all the requirements before they sign up for it. So once you're ready to sign up for a course, you take your code, put it into the system. We double check all of those. You will be registered for you will be your application will be submitted for the course. Yolanda and I look at those applications on the back end, and that's where the tiers of eligibility really come into play. So it's first come, first serve, basically by your tier of eligibility. We will try and get everybody in as we can, and Yolanda and I work directly with instructors and our participants to make sure that people can get in when they really need something. Or if somebody drops out at the last minute, then we can bring people into the course and get them in from the waiting list. So even though you've registered for the course, you will get a separate email that lets you know that you've been approved to attend the course. So don't automatically assume because you've registered for the course and submitted your code that you've been approved. We will typically approve any requests that come in where we know we have lots of space. If there's a course that has 10 spots that's really popular, we may wait until closer into the registration deadline before approving anybody's requests, as we do have priority for CBEs, CBE eligible firms. Once you do get approved, that usually comes in the form of an invitation from Zoom directly, because that's what we use for the registration process, or another learning portal, as it might be for the SEI, the solar training program, or the commercial energy, the certified energy manager, or even Stephen Winter's Associates online platform. May not always be Zoom, but you will get something that confirms that. And then Yolanda and I typically follow up with everybody in the course a few days ahead of that course to make sure that you're ready to go. And remember that this course is starting next week. And that's usually when we're able to find out if there's somebody who's dropping out at the last minute, and then reach out to folks who may be on a waiting list for a course. Then, of course, you tend to complete the course. We have surveys. Some of the instructors have surveys, but we really ask that folks fill out their surveys for each and every course, as it is a critical element of our reporting back to our client, DOEE, as well as our assessment of how the course went and how the instructors are doing. So here's the link. We'll pop it into the chat. Thank you, Kaylin. To go ahead and register. Yolanda's standby and waiting for our registrations. We opened registration just a few days ago and have already got 60-something registrants come in. We know this program is popular, but we encourage folks to register early when courses do come out for registration. We will be announcing which courses are live for registration throughout the year, and that those announcements go out through our Trade Ally newsletter. And if you're not on that newsletter yet, we will have a link for you coming up shortly. I just want to take a few moments to talk about another program that we have at the DCSEU. Apologies to those of you who've already heard this before. We have a workforce development externship program run by Glennis Brown Wade. She's done a fantastic job for the past 5 years, placing district citizens directly in clean energy economy. We have 2 different cohorts throughout the year where we pair trainees, all district residents, with host sites and mentor organizations that provide on-the-job training for a 3 to 5 month period at no cost to the company. There is no requirement that they hire that person at the end of the mentorship, but Glennis has an 85% placement rating. So 85% of the candidates have gone on to be hired by that firm. Some of those candidates have gone on to be hired by other firms in the middle of their externships, and we consider that as a success as well. We provide a competitive hourly wage, 40 hours a week. It's, I would say, living standard wages that vary by the job. And we source the jobs directly from mentor organizations themselves. They give us a job description, and Glennis Cherie and Yolanda work to go find candidates. And we do work with job placement agencies as well to provide 3 different candidates for the mentor organizations to choose from. So if you are at a company that is looking to take on new folks in the entry-level roles and have some time and space to train someone up, we will pay that person for 3 to 5 months to work for you. There's also trainings that come along with that. I'll go over those in just a second, but there's soft job skills and other weekly professional development opportunities that are offered to the externs. These are separate. These are the certifications that come through the Workforce Development Program, Lead Green Associate, of course. We have the IISP actually available through this, as well as building operators training. And then I said we provide some soft skills and workforce development training. So for folks who may be on the line looking for employment, this is another really great opportunity that actually helps with some of those wraparound skills as well, including resume writing, interview skills, job prep that come along with what you need to be successful in finding and keeping a job. And of course, field trips to facilities and whatnot. So if you are looking for new folks at your organization, please reach out and we can connect you with Glennis. She will be recruiting folks for the next cohort in just a few months. So if there's any open job descriptions, please send them our way. And then if you're looking for a job, then we will take your resume. Just a few numbers here. Since 2015, we've placed over 180 folks in full-time employment through this program. DCSEU has actually hired 4 workforce development externs, Yolanda Hayden being one of them. And we do have an 85% or better job placement rate. So it's quite successful. We find quality candidates that are vetted, go through a background check and a drug screen for our mentor organizations. So here's a few more links. As I mentioned, our Trade Ally newsletter, contractor updates, head there and sign up if you're not already getting that. That's also where you'll get any RFQs that go out for contracting opportunities with DCSEU. Not up on the website now, but I know that we've just launched a commercial energy auditing incentive. So information related to that program will also go out on that newsletter. You can always ask Yolanda or myself a question, traingreen@dcseu.com. And if you want to set up a meeting with our Trade Ally manager, we have a Calendly link. Many different consultants, contractors, and companies in the area talk to Rick first before proceeding either to try and become a contractor with us or participate in our externship program or Train Green. So we'll stop here and we'll take some questions. I saw there was a flurry of activity in chat. Let me open that up now.
Yeah, I'll jump in to help you because I've been typing away, so we got to go a little further back. So we have 2 Teresa, so I'm gonna say that we're gonna do Teresa B and Teresa F.
Okay.
So Teresa B asked if there was is there a course limit, or is there a limit to how many courses an individual or organization can take? I responded in the chat, but Mark, you can clarify.
Yeah, so no, there is no limit to the number of courses that can be taken. However, we do sort of check and see who's registering for what other courses, particularly if we know that there's going to be a conflict of a date or a conflict of time demand. So we probably wouldn't put someone into the CEM and a lead AP course. I can only imagine trying to study for those 2 at the same time. So we in some cases we might decline if we know that somebody is double booked, or if somebody hasn't met the prerequisites in terms of either a credential or education experience.
Thanks, Mark. And then Teresa F asked a question around how often do you have to recertify for these courses? I did I said that it would be on a certification by certification basis, but I didn't know, Mark, if you wanted to speak to any specific certifications that you know the timeline for.
Yeah, that's a good question. So that's absolutely right, Kaylin. I mean, that some of them have testing recertification requirements. All the lead credentials, since I used to work for USGBC, I can tell you they have ongoing continuing education upkeep requirements. So I would say that's probably far more common. I believe I'm pretty sure the BPI courses have maintenance requirements as well as CEM, without a doubt. So some of the courses do have ongoing upkeep. We do not cover we don't cover credential maintenance here in the program.
All right, and thank you, Mark, and thank you, Teresa B and Teresa F. I like doing that. That's very nice. But another question which I answered in the chat, but I just want what if we already signed up for Register Code, when the code will be sent out? You kind of spoke to this already, Mark. You said there's about 60 folks that came in over the last couple of days, so you'll get to it as soon as possible. But if you had any follow-up.
Yes. So I will note it. Yes. If you already have an email with your FY23 code, you're good. You'll not have sent a handful of those out actually in 2022. So some folks may have a 2023 code if they applied last October. You guys are good. If you only have a 2022 code, you will need to sign back up again.
Thank you, Mark. I'm going to slide all down. I see Timothy Bishop here has a question. A CBE sending their staff to these programs can have their staff paid as a part of the workforce development program. No, I'll clarify and then I'll pass to you. No, not in the way that you're suggesting. So there's two separate programs that Mark was speaking to, and I'll let him talk to the specifics. The workforce development program is an externship program where all the externs are paired with mentor companies, a lot of which can be CBEs in the area, but there is a process for becoming a mentor company, and you cannot have your staff that are already on your in your organization become an extern. That Train Green is not paid; it's just free, and I'll pass to Mark.
Yep, that's it. That's it. Yep, two separate pools of money.
Perfect. If I have the answer, Mark, I'm gonna knock them down.
Yeah, no
problem. Please do, and feel free, as you see, if you want to ask a question verbally, feel free to raise your hand. I'm gonna do a quick example. That's me raising my hand and putting it back down. It's a little hand icon at the top, and I'll just call on you, and you can come off mute and ask a question.
Just a quick note, we will be rolling courses out very shortly. And as I said, the more intermediate and advanced courses will be coming later in the year. We don't have the calendar up yet, but I can tell you we're looking at May and June for the BPI courses, and probably May and June for the heat pump courses and the on-demand courses from SWA. As well as May and June for the BD&C and the lead O&M courses.
And I see a question from Femi in the chat. What qualifications do you require of potential externs? And Mark, I'll let you take it.
So
you're already on the chat. Yep.
Yeah. So there's no requirements. Okay. So let's see. There are requirements. You have to be a district resident. And you have to be able to pass a background check and a drug screen. And with the background check, I would say there is some wiggle room here, but there can be no history of violent crime. If it's misdemeanors or drug offenses, we do allow those folks to participate in the program. So those are the qualifications. But in terms of actual, yes, thank you, Chris. GED or high school diploma. Missed that one. We don't have any background or experience requirements. We do get a variety of different folks from across the spectrum, engineering students that are right out of college in the area that are looking to find a job, as well as returning citizens looking to re-enter the workplace, folks from the trades that are looking to make a shift, add new services to their area. So we do our best to match an extern with the job description that Glennis receives, but there's generally speaking no experience requirements to sign up.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Crystal, for popping in there, and thank you, Femi, for your question. Trace F has another question. For the NABCEP certification course, which would be PVOL 101, is this for installers? And
yes.
Yeah, go ahead, Mark.
Yes, yep. So that's a great question, and we've really tried to clarify that this year because it is really geared for installers, and it is quite in depth. It's not an intro to renewables, even though they have PVOL 101. It's quite in depth in terms of building science, and they go over basics of electricity and things like that. So it is really geared for installers.
Thank you, Mark, and thank you, Teresa F again. And yep, if you have any more questions, feel free. You can raise your hand and voice your question, or you can write them in the chat, as folks have been doing. But if I know we're not in a lull yet, so I'll give some folks if they're writing them out. But it's best if you have any kind of question at all to ask, because the folks that'll be answering them, if you there you go, Teresa, feel free, come off mute.
Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Hi. Good afternoon, everyone. I wanted to know, so is that NABCEP specifically for the associates or the professionals?
The associates.
Okay. And there is no other NABCEP after that, correct?
No, this is the only one that we offer. It's the only proposal that we got in for solar courses. So this one is through Solar Energy International. It's an online on-demand course, although it's a little bit different because you have to pass PVOL 101 to get to PVOL 203, and then pass that to get to your exam. But we offer that, as well as the Solar System Safety Series. In conjunction with the NABCEP exam.
Okay, and while I'm here, can you also explain the Certified Energy Manager certificate?
Yes, we do. We have the Certified Energy Manager. That is an online on-demand course. We're going to roll that one out along with the introductory courses because we want to give folks at least 6 months to get through that course and hopefully get their CEM. There's not a requirement that you test within the period, but we love folks to test within the period or let us know when you pass, because it's an important credential that actually enables folks to do things like third-party energy benchmarking data verification services, and then do energy audit work as well. Did that answer your question?
Yes, thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem.
And thank you, Teresa, for your questions. I'm sure folks have had some of those questions too, so you're helping folks with your questions. As Carrie had a similar question, so it was, do you know when the Certified Energy Manager course will be open with the first round of introductory courses? So it'll be among the first. If there are any more questions, feel free to raise your hand. And I'll call on you. You can voice it, or you can throw that question in the chat. Righty. If there aren't any more questions, I'll give us till 12:55 if there's no more questions, and then we can wrap up, Mark.
Sounds good. One last tidbit I'll leave everybody with. This year we have on-demand courses coming with Stephen Winters Associates. And for the first time in program history, we're going to have unlimited access to the commissioning training series. So folks in your firms that may work on those kinds of services, We will not have a limit on the number of people we can include this year. So that's something that's a come one, come all scenario. Well, thanks everybody for coming. Again, feel free to reach out. Yolanda and I are here to answer questions, help with registration, etc. We will have courses rolling out over the next few months, so do get on that Trade Ally newsletter. And we hope you have a great weekend, and look forward to working with you all through Train Green and all the other programs and services we have here at DCSEU.